Hello, everybody. I hope things are going well for you all. It's been a minute, huh? We have kind of had a little pause on our streams, but I am ready to get back into it with more level building and live development for Dawn City Heist. So I hope you all are ready to see more level building. So first off, I am going to just take a look at the project page for Dawn City Heist and give kind of like a little refresher on what we're up to right now. So we have 4 tasks currently open. I can only see 3 because I've already done one of them, which was the greyboxing task. That is still open if you want to make a level greybox. So please feel free to take that task if you haven't already. We also have a sound effects or music creation task, which we've had a submission on so far. We'd love to see more of that. And we are still in our full level building phase, which is what I'm going to be streaming primarily today. And we also have playtest task open for levels that have already been created and published. So if you aren't as interested in level building, but you want to play some of the levels that people have been creating for Dawn City Heist, please feel free to take this task and submit some playtest data because it's super, super valuable. But let's get more into the create a full level task. So just as a reminder, this is taking a gray box level and swapping out the primitive assets, the white or gray basic shapes, with fully detailed, nice-looking props and making it feel like a real game environment. And we're keeping all of the basic core gameplay functionality that was in the gray boxes. That was the point of the gray boxes, was to get all that gameplay in there and feeling good before we do this next step. So we're keeping all that. We're just adding environment props and a little bit of lighting to make it feel really cool and fun and immersive. So I'm going to take a look at the game design document now. And this is linked in the task. If you click on this list of graybox levels, you can get linked to the Dawn City Heist game design document. And this is where all of our relevant information is. So if you go down, or if you even just look at the list of contents and you go to levels, list of levels, and you click on that link, it will take you down here to the list of existing levels. And so we have a few different gray box levels. I actually haven't added the full level that we have, which I created on my previous streams, which was DCH Rooftops. I took that from a gray box to a full level. So I'll be adding that under full levels here. But we have a few other gray boxes that are ready to be taken to that next level. And the one that I'm going to be focusing on today is DCH Tower gray box. And the links for the topmost level that has their title will take you to the Endless Mission content portal website. So this is just like what you would see on the content portal in the game. And this is the level that Brian created. So I'll be taking that and putting my own spin on it. I didn't make this gray box myself. The last one, I made DCH Rooftops gray box, but you don't have to make a full level out of a gray box level that you made. You can take anybody's gray box and put your own spin on it. So that's what I'm doing today. Another important thing is to look at the playtest data that we have for each of these levels. So if you click on these links that have a date and a playtest, it will open up a document with the feedback from playtesters. So we have a couple of playtests on most of these levels, and this is important because it helps you understand what needs to change to make this level even more fun. Is there anything broken in the level that I need to fix? Because we can't just ignore gameplay completely in this phase. We still need to make sure that it plays really fun and that it's not broken and that it's just overall a good experience that feels fun for the player. So some of the feedback we got for this one, which it's lumped together. We have DCH Rooftop and Tower, as well as Heist Prototype for this one. So I kind of have to keep that in mind when I'm looking at this feedback. But one of the feedback items was you could easily run away from the robots and not get caught. So it was kind of frustrating to not feel very challenged by the robots. And let's see. Robots can see through walls. I think that may have just been for Heist Prototype. But yeah, so the loophole was that you could just run without caring if the robots see you. So I think that's something to work on in this level, is to make sure that you can't just get past everything without any challenge at all. And let me look at this other playtest. This was one that I did for this level. And some of the drones went really, really fast when it seemed like it was weird for them to do so. And some of the jumps were a little bit tricky. And a couple of the drones flew through walls or floors. I remember there's one point where a drone just goes straight through the floor. So those are things that I would like to fix when I work on this level. So now that I've got that feedback in mind and I know which level I'm going to do, let's hop right into the Endless Mission. So I have it pulled up here, and I'm looking right now at the DCH Tower gray box item in the content portal. So if I press escape, go to content tab, you can see all of our levels, and we're looking for things that say DCH and then a title and then gray box. So DCH Tower gray box is right here. And I've played through this level already. I did a little playtesting stream for it, but let's just get a refresher on what this level plays like by going through it one more time. So in this level, it's like there's 7 coins to collect. 20. Once I pinch the thingy, get to the 8th floor, fire escape. Okay. So that's interesting. We've been clued in kind of to what the theme of this building is, that it's supposed to have a fire escape at the top. So that's something to keep in mind when we're actually building the level with environment props. So I think this is the drone that goes really fast sometimes. He's really slow right now. And he just zooms. And he just doesn't move at the same speed between all these points, it seems like. This one, he goes really fast, so... Let's go and get a coin. If I hide behind this pillar, can he see me? Okay. That's kind of cool. I like being able to go back there. I don't even have to use a hiding spot. I can just use the environment to my advantage. Now that I'm over here, I can see there was a coin in that corner that I didn't see before. So let's kind of dance around this guy. I'm going to sprint by holding left shift, so I can get through this a little faster. A couple of back and forth drones. And there's a lot of open windows in this level, which is going to be an interesting challenge to tackle. I will probably have to make some kind of glass-looking assets, because I don't think we have clear windows as an existing asset. This level will be interesting to create in general because we have more exterior assets than we do interior assets for Dawn City Heist. So I'll be having to get creative with building the structure for this level. I think it'll wind up looking a lot like the example level, because that was an indoor space and I used a lot of like walls with textures on them to make it feel cool. So we can see the exit key there, but I can't get to it from here. Try and jump. And jump. And that was a little tricky, so I think I'm going to sprint. That one I might change. I think that might be where I fell a few times when I was playtesting. So that's a longer jump than this one. Okay. So now let me get this point over here. And this guy is another one that just moves really fast sometimes. So might want to change that. You can see that drone down there. Not really a whole lot of places to hide yet. Oof, that's really close and squishy. I think this is a drone that I will want to change. Oops, I fell right on top of that one. Okay. A run now. This is another thing about this level. You have to start from the very bottom every time you mess up. So maybe there's a way we could change that. Maybe adding an elevator or something that has stops that get unlocked as you get higher up. I don't know. That might be too complicated, but that's something to think about. And let's see. I think I need to follow this guy. And as I follow him, I can see that there's a catwalk out here around the edge of the building, which I thought was really cool. I think there's some cool things we can do with assets for that. Jump. sprinted there because I don't know if I could make it without sprinting, and I don't want to start from the bottom again. So here's a spot where there's a drone, and there's a couple of hiding spots. He moves really slowly, though. Oh no, he's gonna get me. Heard me talking about him. Okay. So let's just run all the way back up. I do think it'll be good if we can add some way to have the player not start from the very bottom every time. Oh no, oh no. Okay, I got away. Cool. Let's see. I find it a little bit tedious if I've made a bunch of progress, but then I mess one thing up and I have to start all over. So I want to see if we can improve that a little bit. I'm not sure if this drone goes this way. Kind of tell what the other playtester was talking about, though, that you can just run and you don't have to be very careful. Because I've just been sprinting, and that has made it a lot easier to get past all of these drones. Whoa! That made me jump. I wasn't expecting that. He went really fast. Okay, I think that's something that needs a little bit of changing, because this isn't meant to scare the player, I don't think. Not a horror game. He also goes through the floor right there, so that's a drone that needs some work. So to the exit here, and that's the whole level. Did I win? Yeah, I won. I think the win trigger needs to be a little bit closer to the door there as well, because you can walk through the door and you're like, I'm supposed to win now. What's happening? But you need to just go a little bit further because the trigger isn't close enough. Okay, so that's a decent number of things that are ready for us to work with. So let's open it in the editor. And kind of orient myself here. Where's the level? Okay, there it is. All right. So here's our tower. You can see a lot of drone patrol bounds. And I'm going to be using full view to do most of this work, just because I don't want to have to jump between different views to change different things. And let's just disable. Well, okay. I think what I'm going to do for this level in particular is fix the drones first, because I just feel like the drones need some work before I can start putting permanent assets in. Not permanent, but like final release-worthy assets. So let's actually find the drones. Are they in the scene? Tower scene. No, where are they? Okay, so let's just search up. Oh, they're called bots, that's why. And where are they? See, here's why it is really good and important to organize your hierarchy. I'm not saying this is bad organization, but I'm having some trouble finding where things are because of the organization. Okay, so what I think Brian, the way that he organized it was by floor. So now that I know where they are, I can work with them. I tend to organize things a little differently. It's not to say that there's a right or wrong way to do it, but in general, the clearer you can be and the most intuitive you can be is the best, so that when other people come into your level, they can just find what they're looking for so that they can make changes. Like if I had made this level and I didn't name any of these, anything useful, I just left it as like empty game object, asset 1, that wouldn't be helpful. That would be really, really hard to work with for an outsider who didn't know what the original intent was. So just a little tip there. Let's find this drone. So I'm pressing Shift F to get a little closer, and then I just zoomed in. So this guy, what I may do is just disable the other floors for now so that I can focus on this one. Oh, I can't disable those all at once. Okay. because it's a little hard to see, especially with a vertical level like this one, when you're just trying to look at one thing. So let's see. We're on floor 1. That's interesting. There's a big, huge territory bound right in the middle of this. I wonder why that is. I feel like that may not be necessary, because what the return to patrol triggers do... Oh, it's in the roof. Okay, never mind. I understand. That makes sense. Okay, so let me just explain this, because it's not... unless you know exactly how the drone's behavior works like I do, it can be a little confusing. So what the creator of this level did was they put territory bounds on all 4 sides of this room, which means that if the drone is chasing you and you go outside the wall, the drone won't follow you outside the wall. It'll hit that trigger and then it'll go back to patrolling. There's also one that is right here, which happens to be where the respawn point is. And what that does is, if the player happens to be seen and then gets caught and gets teleported to the respawn position, and the drone doesn't catch on any of these triggers when it's leaving the room and still chasing the player, it'll catch on this one, and it'll go back to patrolling. It won't just chase the player forever. And then this final trigger, this one is the size of the whole room, but it's in the ceiling, which there isn't actually a ceiling in the real level because it's kind of an open structure so that you can see the lower and the upper floors. And the reason that is because if you are getting chased, but you run and you get to the next set of platforms, your line of sight might be blocked by like the pillars or the walls or the floors, but also you're on the next floor. So you don't want the drone to be able to chase you through the whole building. Drones kind of have territories, like where he's patrolling is just this one floor. So it wouldn't make sense for him to chase you upwards through all 8 floors of this building. That would be crazy. So we have this return to patrol trigger at the top of this room, so that once you get up here, if he's still chasing you, he turns around and goes back to patrol. And that is clever, and that's what we want it to do. So I'm going to leave those territory bounds alone. I am going to disable them so that I can look more closely at this drone. Okay. So I see what's happening. So these 4 points are where this drone is patrolling. And while it's called a rectangle patrol bot, he actually can go in whatever shape these points are. So in this case, it's more of a irregular polygon. He's moving down and then this way, and then up this way, and then he goes diagonally that way, which is kind of cool. But the thing that is rough about this drone, I think, is just his speed, because he's going different distances, but I would guess that he's traveling those distances in the same amount of time. So let's see, move node 1. This is going from here to here, and that takes him 1 second. That sounds about okay to me. And then the rotate, it takes him 1.5 seconds. Since he's only turning 90 degrees, I think I'm going to shave that down to 1. Because that was another thing that players had, was the drones feel like they aren't very threatening. And one way to make them more challenging to deal with is to increase their speed. So I'm going to make him move and turn a little bit faster there. This movement, which is from here to here, takes him 3.5 seconds. I think I'll shave that down to 3 seconds. Rotation. He's turning more than 90 degrees here because he is going towards that node. But he actually looks like he's still turning 90 degrees because this wasn't rotated. So I think when he flies this way, he's not actually facing this way. So I'm actually going to rotate this just a little. Whoops. Selected the wrong thing there. I'm going to rotate this node just a little so that he faces roughly that other node. And I'll see how that looks. And that rotation, I think it's okay that it takes him 1.5 seconds because he's turning more than 90 degrees. And then this next one, that's a long distance. That's roughly the same as this one. So I'm going to make it take him the same amount of time. Currently, it takes him 1 second. And that explains why we were seeing that movement go really fast. So if you remember, he would go kind of slow, really fast right there. And that's because he's moving a longer distance, but it only takes him 1 second to move that distance. And that's just too short, I think. So I'm going to call that 3 seconds. Now, of course, this might be too long. So when I test this, I'm going to see how it feels. And then I think this should only take 1 second because he's rotating less than 90 degrees, actually. But I'm just going to leave that at 1 second. And then this final node, let me close this one. This final node takes him 3.5 seconds to move from here to here. Well, that just feels a little silly because that's a super short distance. So I'm going to say it takes him 1 second to do that. Because I think, if I remember correctly, this one, I said 1 second. So maybe that's too short. Maybe I'll change this one to 1.5 seconds. I think that's what it originally was. And this one can be 1 second. I don't think there's many distances that the drones travel that should take less than 1 second, because that's a really short amount of time. It doesn't leave the player much room to react. So I'm gonna keep that at 1 second. I think that's okay. And then that rotation, shave that down to 1 second. Okay. So now I have altered the speed that this drone patrols and also the rotation right there. So I'm going to first save this as my own thing. So I'm going to save it as DCH tower full level. And that way I'm not just overwriting my save of the original tower level. And if I want to go back to the tower gray box, I can. So let's test this drone and see how his movement looks. Of course, since I disabled his territory bounds, his chasing behavior, he'll continue to chase me even after he catches me. But that's okay. I'm really just looking at how he moves right now. Let's see. That movement feels a lot appropriate. That is feeling, in general, a lot better to me. I think he moves faster on these couple of points, so maybe I'll shave that down from 3 seconds to like 2.5 seconds. 2 3/4 seconds. One thing I notice is that the control or the detection light is actually off for a couple of these, when to me it feels like it shouldn't be. I think he should be able to see you when he's coming this way, whereas right now he can't. So another thing is when he goes this way, he also can't see. And I think he should be able to. So that's what I will change next. Okay, so in tower scene, I'll go back into full view. Floor 1, and let's zoom in on the bot. Okay, so let's take these patrol nodes again. This one I think is okay. This one I will change that movement from 3 seconds to, let's try 2.5. That might be a little fast, but I'll leave it there for now. Next one I will also change to 2.5, since that's roughly the same distance. And then something that I need to fix is having the detection light go off. So I'm just going to take a look through these and see if I can figure out when the detection light changes, because I think it's based on the nodes. Here we go. So this is this node up here, and when I'm looking at the move node, it says on mover approaching, which what that means is when this drone is traveling to this node, the detection sensor is enabled. It's set active. And that's good. I want him to be able to see you when he's moving this way. And when we were testing, he could see you. So that's good. And on arrived, he turns it off. That's still correct because when the drone is rotating, I don't want it to be able to see you when he's turning around. And then this is the rotation node for that same point. And when he approaches, it sets the detection sensor on. That might be okay. What that is saying is he's setting the light on as he turns, which could be okay as long as it doesn't go through a wall in a weird way. And on arrived, he turns it off. I think I don't want him to turn it off because I want him to be able to see you. And when it's turned off, he can't see you. So I am going to just hit the minus button and get rid of that. And then let's look at the next node. This one doesn't have any. And this one also doesn't have any. So he will never turn that light off from here to here. And this one, he turns the light on when he's moving this way. It should already be on, so that doesn't do anything. And then he turns it off when he completes that movement. And then when he's rotating, he turns it back on. Okay. And when he finished rotating, he turns it off. So I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to hit the minus button to get rid of that. So what this should do, if I'm correct, is he shouldn't turn his light off when he's moving between two of those nodes. Two pairs of those nodes, rather. So let's test that. Okay, light is still on. Light is still on. Light is still on. It just doesn't turn it off, so it's always on. I think that feels a little better. See me, and he's going to catch me. And he will continue to catch me because the territory bounds are off. Hi, buddy. Okay. So now I can turn those bounds back on, and that should work appropriately. The speed also felt pretty good to me there, so I'm going to leave that. Now, how the drones usually behave, they will usually turn their lights off while they are turning. And what I changed was I made it so that it didn't ever do that. That might make it a little too hard because you don't have any time where he's not looking around. But I think for that particular patrol, it makes sense for him not to become blind for a while. So I'm going to leave it, and I'll playtest some more later and see. Turn his bounds back on. And that's the only drone on that floor. So I think I'm done there. I'm going to move up to the next floor and take a look at these drones. Okay. And I'm actually going to disable floor 1, which will make it a little harder to test. Oh, so something that can happen in the editor is sometimes for things that have materials on them, semi-transparent materials like the drone territory bounds that look kind of transparent yellow color, sometimes that just doesn't display in the editor. So they'll render as solid white like they are now. And that just happens every once in a while, and you have to deal with it. So I can see these drones. These are the ones that go back and forth. I feel like those are pretty okay. I didn't really notice anything super off about them. So I'm just going to call floor 2 pretty good. Floor 3. Let's look at this. No drones here. Floor 4. No drones here. Jumpy majigger. That's what this platform is called. Okay, so speaking of this platform, I actually want this jump to be a little bit easier because I had some trouble with it as a player. One simple way to do that is just to take the scale tool. Oh, this might not be as simple as I was expecting it to be. Do that, but I'm just going to take this mini catwalk and make it a little longer and move it. So now that jump is shorter, and I think that'll be easier. So all I did there was I made this platform a bit longer so that that gap wasn't as big, and I moved it a little bit to match up. So now I'll enable floor 5, and here is, let's see, this drone goes around this catwalk, I think. I would like to be able to see the colors, so I'm actually going to, just enable these floors again so that I can kind of see, and then play and return to the editor, and I think that will make the stuff render properly. Sometimes you just have to go back and forth between play mode and edit mode for things to work properly. There's bugs in every program, so just something you got to deal with. And I assure you, as a game designer, when you are building games in like the actual industry, you won't be working with a perfect tool. In all likelihood, unless you're using a commercial engine, which even those, like Unity and Unreal, even those have problems. But especially if you're working in what's called a proprietary engine, so a game-making tool that the company you're working for made, usually specifically for the game that you're making, oftentimes you will run into problems because there's always problems, there's always bugs. That's just how it is. So learning to work with those is an important skill as a game developer. Okay, let me just... Okay. So now those are rendering properly. Like I said, I can see the green of the nodes and I can see the yellow of the bounds. And that's what I wanted. Okay, so now that I have all that, I'm going to disable these floors so that I can kind of focus. And this guy, oh, interesting. Floor 5 includes both this lower platform and the upper platform. So this is, the guy down here is the one who guards the exit key and goes back and forth. I noticed that he clips through the wall a little bit, so I think I need to change him a little. And then this upper one, okay, it looks like he goes in a square here to here, outside on this catwalk, and then back inside. I can't remember if this is the one that scared me. I think that's a different one because that was a higher floor. So let's first take the back and forth guy. Where is he? Oh, it's this guy. Oh, interesting. He's labeled as a rectangle patrol bot. Or no, I'm looking at the... Okay, never mind. Where is the little one? So I can see when I enable floor 5, it enables that drone, but I don't actually see him in here unless I'm just missing it. Oh, he's in the mini room, that's why. Okay. So let's take a look at him. It'll be a little tricky because all of these other things are in the way. I might be able to disable some things. Let's see. Disable this catwalk so I can see in there. And I will also disable his territory bounds like that. Okay, that's better. So this guy just goes back and forth, but I think because he moves all the way to that edge, he clips through the wall. And it's also a really narrow window that you have to get the key, which I think is around here somewhere. So what I think I will do is make this room just a little bit bigger. Because I think if the player has more space to do their thing, that'll make it easier to get in and out without getting caught. I know this is supposed to be like kind of a climactic, tricky moment, but it's almost impossible to do this without getting caught by the drone. So I think I'm just going to extend this room a little bit. Mini room floor. Oh, it's cube empty, half. Okay. So I'm going to take both of these selected at the same time and increase the scale. Oh, that didn't do what I wanted it to. Okay. Let's move this. So now the room's a little bit bigger. I think it could be bigger still. Move that. Take this cube empty half. Okay. So that is bigger. So I don't think he will clip through the wall anymore. And then one other thing that I had an idea to do was to put a hiding spot in here. Because I think that will allow the player to jump in the hiding spot if they're about to be caught and wait for a moment to get away rather than just getting caught and not having anything they can do. So the only thing that's tricky about that is the drone doesn't have a whole lot of room to go back and forth. And that might make it hard to put a hiding spot that the drone will avoid you in. Let's see if I can move this drone. Where did I go? Mini room. Here we go. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the patrol bot, the patrol nodes, and move them a little closer to the edge here so that I can put the hiding spot over here and he won't touch it on his way past. I think that'll work. So let's just grab a hiding spot. I think the only ones are on the upper floors. So maybe I'll do that later once I get to those floors. But I think even this will be helpful. Just that little increase. And now I'll re-enable the catwalk. Actually, before I move on from this guy, I want to check his speed. Because it's possible he's also just moving fast. It looks like it takes him 3 seconds to go back and forth here. Let's check if it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. And then 1.5 seconds to turn all the way around. That seems appropriate to me, so I'm just going to leave that how it is. Okay. Now I'll enable the catwalk. And take a look at this drone. And I think the big thing I'm concerned about is speed here. So let's see. Takes him 1 second to go from here to here, which seems a little bit short. So I think I might change that to 1.5 seconds. Rotation takes a full 1.5 seconds. It's only a 90 degree, so I'm going to change it to 1. And since this is a square, I can actually say that it takes the same amount of time to go between all of these. It might not be exactly a square, but it looks pretty close to a square, so I think it's good to keep the speeds consistent because the player forms an idea in their mind when they're looking at these drones move around that, oh, he moves at this speed. That's how fast he goes. So if suddenly, for no reason, the drone can just go really fast, but then when he's moving like an even shorter distance, he goes a lot slower, that is weird, and it gets the player mixed up about what they're meant to expect. And we don't want to do that. We really want to avoid confusing the player. And what we want is for the player to form an idea, which a technical term for this is a heuristic. So we want the player to form a heuristic about how the game works. So the drones move this fast, I move this fast, and for that heuristic to stay consistent through their game experience so that they know, for example, because this drone has to go this far, I can get past them in this amount of time because the drones go this fast and I go this fast. If the drone speed is inconsistent, the player can't do that because the rule that they just formed in their head for how the game world works gets broken. So we want to keep those consistent throughout the whole experience. So let's see. Yep. Okay, so I think those are all good. I want to test this now. So let's enable all these floors again. There we go. And it's very possible that I may not have time today to actually start putting some nice looking assets in, but I wanted to focus the first part of this level building experience on making sure the gameplay feels good. Because like I said before, the point of the gray box was to get the gameplay to a good place before I start putting things where they're going to be when the game is released, and to give me that freedom without having to worry about how things look. So this guy is still feeling good. I'm just going to sprint here. Oh, can I get away? Okay, cool. So, like I said earlier, the patrol bound, there's one on each floor, which means that if I go from floor 2 to floor 1 while I'm being chased by a drone from floor 2, that means that I will get away from that drone. So now that is our bigger room. One thing I do need to test now that I've made it bigger, though, is that I can't get to it from other platforms where I'm not supposed to be able to get to it. Let me, like this one, for instance, can I just jump in here? I can. So that is something that I don't want the player to be able to do. The player shouldn't be able to just jump here into that other room, because that means they don't get that cool experience of going up on the catwalk and then dropping down into the room, which is what we want. That room should be kind of like floating and isolated, and I have messed that up by making it longer. So there's a couple of things I could do to fix that. One is I could make the walls taller around the sides, and that way they wouldn't be able to get into the room. That might work. It means you can get onto the walls from upper floors rather than just having the catwalk be the only platform, but that might be okay. I think that is probably my first idea for what I'm going to do there. But anyway, now that I get over here, see this drone is going faster. May be a problem because now I can't outrun him by walking. He did go through the wall there, but he stopped chasing me, which is what's important because I lost line of sight. And that's intentional. Whoa! Ah. That was all working as expected. I did get caught there, but that was just because I fell. Let's go back up one more time and check out that drone behavior. In here. And as you can see, you still can sprint past everything. I think a solution to this problem of being able to sprint... Well, I just sacrificed all that. Whoops. And I got caught again. Okay. Let me go through this one at a time so I'm not playing while I'm trying to talk. So a solution to this problem of being able to sprint past everything, as I've been seeing the playtests come in and playtesting the game myself, I think what we may want to do is not allow the player to sprint infinitely in the first place. Because the drones they don't have any kind of sprint ability. They just chase you in a certain amount of time. And they also move at a set speed regardless of whether you're close to them or not. So in a game that has more complicated enemy AI like Dishonored, which I played on stream, the guards, if they see you or if they like hear you or something happen nearby and they're like, oh, there's a person sneaking around here, they might start moving faster because they're looking around. And then if they actually see you, they might start chasing you and actually like going at sprint speed rather than walking patrol speed. The drones in this game are not that complicated, which means that there's no really complicated behavior of strategizing your speed versus their speed, except for timing. And being able to just sprint at will makes it feel like, well, why should I ever walk if I can always just move faster to get around them, and they can't ever move as fast as I can move when I'm sprinting? Then there's no reason to walk. I might as well just sprint all the time because I can sprint all the time. So what I've been thinking is maybe it's better to either have some kind of limitation on how much you can sprint, like a lot of games do a stamina meter. So you can only sprint for so long and then you're out of breath and you can't sprint until it's fully recharged. Or I could make the sprint speed slower. That might still give us the same kind of problems. I could also just fully remove the ability to sprint. So you're always having to keep in mind, I can only move at this speed. So what do I have to do to win with that limitation? These are all ideas that are open to feedback from you guys as designers and as developers, fellow developers of Dawn City Heist. So if anybody has any thoughts about this, feel free to like put out a message in the Discord or, start a conversation with people about it. But anyway, for now, because sprinting is really convenient for development purposes, I'm going to leave it in because it allows us to test the level and just run through things quickly without having to worry about getting caught like I just did. So anyway, we ran into a couple of problems there. One of these was that the newly enlarged room can be gotten into. I don't want the player to get into it. So I think I'm going to just take the walls of that room and make them taller. So now if the player is over here, can they jump that high? Can they jump all the way up to the top? Maybe. So I'm going to make it bit bigger. And what I'm hoping this will cause is that the player can only get into that room when they're up on this catwalk or up on this little ledge here. Or if you really wanted to, you could drop into it from higher levels, but you can already do that, so I think that's okay. I think the strength of this setup is that the player sees it from below. Like as they're walking past here, they can see it, but they can't get into it. So they can go, oh, okay, I know where the key is, but I have to get in there. How do I get in there? And then there's this magical moment when you get to the upper floor here and there's a catwalk right above it. You can watch him from above and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be like a spy. I'm gonna drop down into the museum and steal the artifacts while he's not looking. So that is something I want to preserve. I don't want to ruin that. So I think those taller walls will help me with that. And then this drone moved kind of fast. I'm okay with the faster movement. I think that makes it a little more challenging. But the problem was I couldn't get away. If I happened to be in front of him and he was moving, there was no time for me to get away from him without losing all my progress by falling to the bottom floor. So I think this is another really good place for hiding spots. If there's hiding spots periodically along this path where you can see, oh, he's coming, I gotta hide. And then you hide and you wait for him to go past and then you start going again. I think that would be a really cool experience and a really good place to include that mechanic. So once I find where the hiding spots in this level are, I will come back there and duplicate them and add them there. So floor 6 is just another upper floor. This is another jump that I found tricky. So I think I'm going to take this mini catwalk, just make it a little longer like I did before. Just move it so that it matches up. There we go. So that's a very slight difference, but it's still about the same level of difficulty as that one. And I think that's what I want. So I'll leave that there. And there's nothing else on floor 6, I don't think. So I'll enable floor 7. Let's see, how much time do I have here? I got 10 minutes. Can I finish all 7 floors in 10 minutes? And here's that bug again where the things are rendering improperly. So I guess now's a good time to save. And I'll jump into play mode and jump right back so that that stops happening. And hopefully that will be resolved now. Let's take a look. Open up, go to full view, building floor 7. So this is the floor where the hiding spots are. Okay, so that's resolved now. So these hiding spots I think are in a decent place. I think this is the drone that scared me, if I'm not mistaken. So let me take this drone. I'm going to disable his territory bounds. And I think I may have forgotten to enable some of the bounds of the drones in here, so I'll have to go back and do that. But let's see. So his patrol nodes, he goes... Oops. Like that. Interesting. So this might not be this is not the drone that freaked me out. Okay. So I don't really see anything wrong with those patrol nodes. I'm just going to adjust the speeds like I did before. So let's see. This is how long it takes from here to here, I think. So that's 1 second. I'm going to adjust that to 1.5. Rotation should only take 1 second. It should be... This can be 1, I think, because you're going from here to here. And it's not that long. Maybe 1.5 again. And that rotation should be 1. And then this one should not take him 1 second to move that far. I'm going to call that 2 seconds. And then this short one, this can take 1 second. Rotation should also be 1 second. And these values are just what I have found to be more comfortable after playtesting. So I think that is where I'll leave it. And I think I can re-enable his territory bounds and test that. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure all my drones have their bounds enabled. Let's see, mini room guy. Re-enable that. And this guy, his bounds are enabled. Okay. Floor 4, I don't think has any. That should be all of them, I think. Yep. Okay. Let's test this. I'm just going to run to the top floor because I would like to test that drone specifically. I think, personally, the option I'm leaning towards for testing the behavior of the sprinting is adding a cooldown or like a stamina bar or something of that nature. Because I think that allows you to use sprinting strategically, but not abuse it like I have been doing while I'm developing. So now he moves slow. He still is kind of challenging to get around in here. I'm not feeling super challenged by him though. even though he's moving faster on most of these patrol nodes, I think it's not super challenging to navigate this room. So I might add another drone or change his route to be a little more directly in the way of getting the thing. Next. Let's see. The last drone has got to be the one that went through the floor and that also moves really fast. So I think that's the last thing I will change today before I log off, is I will make that drone no longer frightening. Let's see. Rectangle patrol drone. Let's zoom to him. And I have the bug again, of course. But I think I can just disable these for now. Okay, so this guy goes, I think, here to here to here to here. And some of these are at different levels, which is why these two, why he goes through the floor. I think he's just not supposed to do that. So it makes more sense to me if his patrol nodes are on parallel surfaces. So like if this one is up here, this one should also be up here. It doesn't really make sense for him to go down there. So let's take this and just move it. Pull it up a bit to be about the same level as the other one. And when he turns, kind of tough to see here, but the platform actually does go down. So if we want him to be able to catch the player on this catwalk, which I think would be kind of neat, that one actually should be lower down. So this one, maybe down here. Now there's a risk here that as he's going down, he will clip through that section of that ramp. But I think that won't happen because I think it's a long enough distance that he just won't do that. But now he also does need to go back up through here so that he can get to this door. So I think it's okay if he just ascends right here and goes above the player. Otherwise, he will start lower down and he'll catch the player. He'll be able to catch the player through that lower level. But that might be okay. You know what? I'm going to take this one and just lower it a bit. Not all the way. So he'll ascend a little bit, but he should still be able to see the player if they're walking right here. And then my hope is that when he turns, he'll start ascending so that he won't really get in the way of the player while they're trying to get the treasure. And the whole time, what I'm intending to happen is that the drone won't clip through the floor. But I still need to change the speeds. So let's take this one, which is moving from there to here, that's a pretty long distance. Okay, so that's why he was popping out really rapidly. It only takes him 1 second to go from all the way from one end of the building to the other side. So let's change that. I think that's more appropriate at like 3.5, maybe 4. I'll try 3.5 for now. And that's a 90-degree rotation, so we'll call it 1 second. And this other node, that's not a very long distance. I'm going to change this one to 1.5 seconds. And rotation. And this move node, that's again all the way at the other side of the building, so 3.5 seconds. 1 second to rotate. And then this last movement is again a pretty short distance, so I'll call that 1.5 seconds. And rotate for 1 second. Save this. And I'll re-enable the territory bounds for that guy. I'll save it again. And then I will do one last test to make sure all those drones are working better than they were before. I won't say they're bug-free now, but I'm hoping that this will be a better gameplay experience. So I know these guys are working okay. Get up here. I'm still thinking about ways to make this less of a long trek all the way back up to the top if you happen to go the wrong way or you fall down. Possibly an elevator. Elevators are pretty easy to do, and I can show the process of doing that. I'm gonna hide real quick because he saw me. Here. That's our drone that we just did. So he goes up, he goes through this door, up through that window. Cool. Goes back around. It didn't look like he clipped. Minute. Well, that's another thing. I should probably enable that vision cone so that he can see you while he's going some of those distances. Interestingly, if you're below him, like I just was, he'll go right over you. I think that's okay. I think that's kind of almost a neat strategy. That's another jump that I should fix. I don't know where that drone came from just now. Oh, that must have been the one on the lower level. But that jump needs some adjustment, I think. So I'll make that one longer. I don't know if I changed that one yet. I don't think I did. But we're at about time here, so I think for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how those drones came out. I think they're feeling a lot better, and hopefully I've addressed some of the player feedback that was like, it's too easy to get past them, they move at weird speeds, they go through the floors. I think I fixed all the clipping issues, so that's good. And then next time, hopefully I will get into actually swapping the white and like ugly basic shape assets out with real assets that look really cool and match the theme of the world of Dawn City. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was informative for you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.